Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit nbda.com.
If you're a bicycle retailer looking to take your business to the next level, listen up. NBDA and CABDA have joined forces for the Drive to Thrive, a revolutionary education experience coming to Chicago in February and Las Vegas in March. Get hands-on training in service, sales, and fitting. Master operational excellence. Connect with fellow retailers in our new Masterclass peer sessions. Learn from industry-leading keynote speakers. This isn't just professional development, it's a movement toward a stronger retail future. So visit nbda.com to register.
We are Bivo, a stainless steel cycling water bottle company. The idea for Bivo came from the realization Robbie and I had when our daughter was young. We didn't want to feed her out of plastic bottles, and as we were searching for safe, non-plastic alternatives, we realized that we too used plastic bottles every time we exercised. It was wild for us to realize that metal bottles for cycling didn't exist, so we created one. With a universal cage fit and a high flow rate, Bivo bottles are the go-to bottle for cyclists ready for a cleaner, faster, and a more fun drinking experience.
Welcome back to Bicycle Retail Radio. Thanks for being here. This is our monthly feature, our news hour with the team at Human Powered Solutions. I'm Heather Mason, NBDA Executive Director. Human Powered Solutions is an industry-leading consultancy dedicated to advancing bicycle and e-mobility technology. They have decades of experience in product development, supply chain, and market trends, and their expertise helps shape the future of our industry. The NBDA is so thankful for our relationship with Human Powered Solutions. Our monthly news podcast hour is especially important for our listeners and for the industry because what we do is we dive into key challenges and opportunities that are shaping bicycle retail landscape forward. We talk about emerging technology, we review policy shifts, and everything in between. So if you're a retailer, supplier, or industry advocate listening to today's episode, we know you're going to find valuable insights that you won't want to miss. The content for our conversation is pulled directly from the Human Powered Solutions Bicycle Business Reporter. This is a monthly publication available to you on the Human Powered Solutions website. We have linked in the show notes. Just go there and go ahead and sign up, humanpoweredsolutions.com, to get your own copy directly in your inbox. Excited for this one. This is our year-end podcast. We wrap up a year with a jam-packed reporter. The December 25 Human Powered Solutions Bicycle Business Reporter is titled New Market Data, Tariff News, Market in Flux, and then Steve Bina gives us a thoughtful article, Keeping Them Safe, and how dealers play an important role in e-bike safety. Team, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
Yeah, I love our year-end episode. It brings 2025 to a conclusion. We're looking forward, and there's still a lot of hot topics, so we've got a jam-packed one. I want to start right at the top. I was so thankful to see the article that you reviewed that the NBDA launches Revolutionary Market Intelligence Program. This came out of Bicycle Retailer and Industry News in early December, and it reviews that our TrackFly-powered program provides real-time sales intelligence. What the NBDA has brought forward at zero cost to members and retailers at large is a program that will give retailers competitive product data featuring top sellers by category with specific brands and pricing. We've got price banding insights based on actual consumer behavior. I'm genuinely thrilled to launch this program. It's been 4 years in the making here, and we already have, I'm pleased to announce on this podcast, over 200 retailers already on board. And just a short release of mention that this data project is taking shape. I know that the Human Powered Solutions team believes in the product, believes in the power of data. And so, what I want to ask is your opinion. This data coming forward, retailers should be able to use this data that TrackFly will provide to, let's say, compete against big box stores or brands who sell D2C. So, what are your thoughts on how retailers can use this data and how it will put us more in the driving seat in terms of that competition? I'll just open it up to anyone.
Well, I'll kick it off with I think this is long overdue, as you're well aware, because we've talked about it.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested in Fred's perspective historically, because uh, this, the concept here I think is fantastic in the sense that retailers are going to be able to put their POS data into this database, be able to see the individual, the market, the state, the region, the whole country, and do that as they will off of the dashboards that are in this system. And they're not going to empower any one brand or brands to dominate the market or them. This is all about specialty bicycle retailers. So, Fred, I've never seen anything like this before. I have high hopes for it as it goes forward. I'd really appreciate your perspective historically.
Yeah.
Well, historically, we've tried this, Jay, as you were well involved in. NBDA had a program called Retail Data Capture. God, it's got to be 20 years ago now. I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
maybe, yeah, or so. And in that case, we had the same idea that, dealers needed to know what the market trends were direct from other retailers. But in those days, they filled out paper forms and sent them in. And then they would be hand entered into the database. And then the reports would be generated. Some of them were inches thick of the reports that would go out to the suppliers. And, so at least the history is the NBDA in the past and obviously now really believes in the importance of numbers, data, metrics. It really will help, has helped in the past for dealers to note what's selling, what's not. If you can get enough sample size, regional comparisons are valid and useful, and TrackFly is well aware of that. I watched the little webinar intro, but making informed buying decisions, looking for missed opportunities, and free, and it's all electronic. You don't have to fill out any forms, and we don't have to wear out our copy machines coming up with inches of paper reports. So, yeah, I think there's all the potential in the world for this. I would encourage any retailer to just say yes, click the button. It's seamless, it's painless. I have a lot of confidence, and so does Heather, that the company they've chosen to partner with is reliable. They've done this in other industries. It's time. It's time for retail-based statistics to make decisions that are better informed.
I love the viewpoint of Fred.
Here, here.
We did
Can
not.
I ask a point of clarification? In doing researching the article, at least my impression is that you initially started with just NBDA members, but now any retailer can join in this program. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, we initially started, so we've been really staging the launch of the program out because we wanted to make sure along the way that we had, everything validated, that our API connections were set up correctly. So we did. We started with just our P2 members actually, and then NBDA members, and now it's broad and open to any retailer within North America can take part. There's no charge. The more retailers we get involved, this is a program brought forward by the retailer organization for the retailers. We want to make sure your data is not weaponized against you, and we want to make sure that we're providing retailers insights that'll help you make informed decisions. So you're correct, Jay. We started with just our own test pool just to make sure those connections were right and we had the data feed going in the right direction. And now it's open to any retailer across North America.
Whether they're an NBDA member or not.
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yeah. Yep.
I think that's an extremely first courageous, and much needed. But also, this is, I think, the way in which this program will be able to spread across the country because it's by retailers for retailers.
I mean, Jay, we believe in collaboration and partnership, and we believe that when we bring more people to the table, right, the meal is better, the discussion is better, we learn more from one another. So it was important to us that we didn't make this restrictive to anyone. NBDA members will have access to additional month or quarterly insights. We'll have webinars for our members. And I'm hopeful that those retailers who aren't NBDA members will find value in the dashboard and the data and maybe potentially join. But other than that, yeah, the more inclusive we can be, the better. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I'm excited about this. Can you tell?
Yeah.
It's been a project in the making, and we have a great partner in TrackFly. So excited to see retailers come on board and move that forward. So the other category I wanted to chat about that we talk about often in our podcast, and I would say more so over the last 6 months, is used bicycles. And there's an article in this month's Reporter covering Upway closing a 60 million funding round. This article was featured in Bicycle Retailer Industry News. It really struck my attention. Your analysis notes that used bikes already generate 50 plus gross margins, but surprisingly, only 8% of shops sold them in 2024, which is crazy to me. Upway, they are really helping retailers moving old inventory and also facilitating this used marketplace. And now they're planning Denver and other U.S. refurbishment centers. I know they have one in Brooklyn already. Um, Upway's expanding up to 125 million in total funding. Now, my question is, should independent retailers view them as a threat? Or are we going to continue to view them as a partner? From the NBDA, they're an association member. They will be at our trade shows this year, presenting on the stage with their data and insight to share with retailers about what's happening in the used e-bike market. But I would love the Human Powered Solutions take on this.
Well, I think this is one that deserves, first of all, the scrutiny. But Upway has been, from my standpoint, a good member of the community because I've heard them speak now at every one of your summits.
Yeah.
From the time they came into the market, they've shared with dealers. NBDA's paid, I think, proper and particular attention to them. And I think that this is a model for independent specialty bicycle retail shops need to be in the used bike business as we go into this market. And in turn, I think Upway becomes an example that dealers can use. And I'm sure Upway wouldn't mind sharing because you're gonna have them again at all of your summits and your meetings, and they'll be at CABDA. So I think we treat them as a outstanding member of the community at this point, and dealers need to learn everything they can from them. And in turn, I think we put pressure on Upway to share as much as they can with retailers and help retailers develop their plans. But I went through the Upway website in preparing, reading this article and preparing this article for the newsletter. And I think that there's a great deal that dealers can learn by looking at the Upway website as to what they need to present to the outward facing consumer public about used bikes and their used bike programs. So use Upway as an example and things that you should provide. As one of the things I think that's outstanding from Upway is they offer a warranty. They
Mm-hmm.
provide a used product and they have a warranty with it. The going in, they've got a multi-point inspection program.
Yeah.
They will replace. And so that means that dealers need to sharpen up the mechanical side of servicing e-bikes, but they replicate all of the features of the Upway program. And I think join that with what you've put together in packages from James Moore and Moore's Bike Shop, which I look at as, and I quote them in I cite them in the article. Moore's is the example of what can be done in used, previously owned bicycle programs for bike shops. And I think they've done well with it. I think they're sharing. They certainly work hard with the NBDA to educate dealers. I think at this point, add Upway in. It's another example. Let's keep driving this forward because this may be the future for many bike shops in the near term.
Yeah, I would agree. E-bike sales are increasing, and it makes sense that used e-bike sales would increase. Upway has been a great community member. They've come to all of our P2 workshops. They've sat in with retailers, asking questions, learning from retailers. So I see this as just a move of their growth. And I think the more we can stay involved as an organization, our members can stay involved in those conversations, learning and sharing with Upway. I think we're moving in the right direction together. Fred, your thoughts just on used bikes? I know you've always thought this was a thing that retailers should, focus on, or at least maybe think about having in their business mix.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love new bicycles, brand new, polished up, sitting on the showroom floor, pristine chain. I love them. But every bike in the field is a used bicycle. Every bike I have that I love and use is a used bicycle. One ride and a bike is a used bicycle now. So I think it's an opportunity for sure because it's not whether it's new or whether it's used, it's what condition it's in. Is it rideable? Is it affordable? Those are the things I think customers are looking for in cycling. E-bikes especially are more pricey. It's a higher price point. So yeah, it's I think there's resistance and it's a lot of work to set up a used bike program in a store. And if you're a larger store used to 50% of your sales being new bicycles and that's how your business is run, it's a hurdle to set up a system of acquiring, refurbishing, and positioning and selling used bikes. But given the uncertainty of the new bike market and tariffs and all the rest of it, supply issues, I if I were a dealer, I would sure look at it. How about that?
No, I'm with you. Thank you, Fred. There was another article I was looking. So we're working with our P2 members right now. And our P2 is our profitability project. We have almost 100 retailers across North America. And this time of year, we're planning for 2026. So we were doing our budgets, our cash flows. We're making projections on sales. And so I see this article, confidence in market recovery has eroded quickly. It was at a Bike Europe, and the article reports that the global bicycle purchasing index has dropped from 101.6 in June to 98.8 in November. People are assessing conditions as bad or very bad, with new order levels dropping like 15 points. In your analysis, you urge readers to note that 2026 will not be any better than 2025. So, kind of looking at this realistically, just thoughts on what retailers should set their target goals for 2026. Do you think we'll see revenue flat, down, up? I mean, I know there's no crystal balls, but just, if I had to ask you like I am right now, I'd be interested in Steve's opinion on this one too.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, 2026 is going to be, I think, a challenging year. If it's no better than 25, it's going to be a challenging year. If it's worse than 25, which the potential is there, it's going to be a challenging year. So I think my perspective, and even though I haven't gotten into it in depth, but I did see a report, I believe in today's Wall Street Journal, the consumer confidence is starting to come back.
Okay.
That will be helpful. Now, that's a macro view. When you get into the bicycle industry and what's going on there with the tariffs, it's problematic. And I think the word that I was using before, the key word to this is going to be challenging. So you guys are going to have to be on your game.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some retailers giving me a budget just for review that shows a revenue increase of 13%. And I'm like, 13%. And then others who are like staying flat or just going 1 or 2 points. So it really is kind of it's dependent upon your business. But I might think that we should be maybe a little bit cautious. Jay, your thoughts?
Well, I think part of it goes back to something that Fred's harped on and you've harped on, and both Mike and Steve have jumped in on, and that's planning, business planning. A 13% increase, I think, is justified if you look back at the plan, and that plan's based on products and services that will be sold to the consumer that have got traction or look really good from the standpoint of will gain traction. So I think it's a matter of digging into the plan, and the Bike Europe article is important because it says several things, and one of them is it admits on behalf, at least the European side of the journalism covering the industry, that the manufacturers and brands don't have control. Well, I think that's the case across the board. So I think it's time for the retailers, especially bike retailers, bike shops, to take control and not be, don't, a brand leading is not necessarily a good thing. So take a look at what's good for the business, especially bike retail business. So I would be cautious, but I also think I would look at what are potential revenue sources going forward. Increase service, selling more service, bringing more service in, building it into. One of the reasons you want to give warranties, by the way, on used bikes is bring service in.
Right.
It's a service promoter. So I think looking at a retail business and then what can I do to serve the consumer and make money at it, and then be reasonably assured in your planning that your merchandising and your outreach and your marketing will yield that result. If not, then be as conservative as you can be, realizing that the big guys are now admitting in the trade press they've lost control.
Mm-hmm.
And these are very turbulent times. So there's part of the loss of control are the uncertainties, things we don't know going into next week and the week after, which is the new year. So I think it's time for what you do. The NBDA is very rock solid from the standpoint of what you're telling dealers you're in control of and what you're going to do to plan going forward. I think the same goes to your members. Dealers need to reflect a business plan that is realistic going forward. That's also the point in this article, at least from my standpoint, that we're trying to draw out, and that is the bike industry was too optimistic. There was not enough of looking, like Steve said, let's look at the economic events. Let's be realistic about where we're going. In our case, in the U.S. market, we have not been, I don't think, realistic about what the impact of tariffs are going to be going forward. Take them into account, build them into the plan. Remember the history here, and that is that bike shops are innovative. They've for decades learned to survive. And that is because as small business people, they're smart and they plan.
Yeah, Jay, I'm really glad you said focus on where you make money. So that is like we are talking to our members in our P2 program about profit first. So yes, you could make a 13%, I guess, increase or 5% or plan for that, but focus on those revenue streams that are going to bring you in actual money. So service. I just reviewed the early draft of our specialty bicycle retail study that'll come out in just a few weeks, or it might be out by the time this podcast comes out. And we asked retailers specifically what revenue streams they're going to focus on for 2026. And I was very pleased to see e-bikes, service, rentals. So those used bike sales, those as their focus items for next year, which I do think will make some extra margin.
Specialty bicycle retailers are the heart of the cycling industry, and the National Bicycle Dealers Association exists to strengthen these businesses through education, research, communication, and advocacy. When we create thriving bicycle retailers, the industry and the cycling community follows. Memberships are available for individuals, retailers, and association partners committed to supporting the mission. Join today at nbda.com.
Yep.
Here's an interesting one. Really excited to get the group's take on this. Giant moving U.S. headquarters to Boulder next year. This was announced in Bicycle Retailer Industry News as well. And Giant is relocating from Newbury Park, California to Boulder, Colorado in early 2026. What do you think this move signals maybe about Giant's market position or whatnot? Just anything about your thoughts on their move. Kind of have this will be a little gossip session, but I think it's good. I want to know what you guys think about.
Fred, you got to have some thoughts on this.
On the surface, I don't see why a company would move within the U.S. from one place to a higher price or similar place just because of culture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, but they must have some plan. Obviously, they're an intelligent, well-managed company, I believe, and it's a mystery to me, actually. I mean, Boulder's a beautiful area. Maybe it's employee retention or employee, happiness or something as simply a cultural thing to try to differentiate Giant Manufacturing from Giant the brand, show enthusiasm, whatever. But it's a mystery to me why they would do this at this time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, that's what I was like. All right, I don't know right now. Jay,
Yeah.
anything else?
Well, as I said in the article, and I didn't mean to be cheeky, but uh, it doesn't make any sense to me either. If I have advising clients, I would not advise Giant USA to move to Boulder, Colorado. To me, it doesn't make any sense until you begin to factor in some pieces. And one of the pieces that's factored in, and by the way, we make a point in the article, I think everybody on this panel agrees, if you're going to strategically pick a place today to move the headquarters of a bike focused company to, obviously Bentonville has to be at least in the thought process.
Right.
As well as Fred points out, Boulder certainly has had a reputation. Certainly has some features going forward, as does Bentonville. But it gets to me. It gets, from my standpoint, down to what's the strategy. And so one of the guys I rely on heavily for details about the European market, who's involved in the European business, he said, "Look, Jay, it's politics.
Mm.
It's politics." And okay, what are the politics? Well, as you said, now we can really get into all sorts of thoughts and ideas and rumors. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's a move that's going to be more rooted in politics, remembering a number of things about where Giant is in the United States. And one is none of the product manufactured in Taiwan has been allowed in this country by U.S. Customs for either any of the Giant brands, which are multiple, or any of the OEM customers. Now, this is Taiwanese production only, but it's being stopped. It's been stopped since September. Not one of those products has been allowed in from Taiwan, Giant product, manufactured products from Taiwan. It could be and again, this administration makes deals. It could be as interesting as this is a deal struck with the federal government. It could be a deal that also, I think, may lean toward domestic manufacturing and starting domestic manufacturing. That I try to avoid this kind of stuff, but it's interesting from time to time to have a case like this. And I think it's up to us now. We have to go ask Giant, or Heather, you have to ask the Giant rep on your advisory committee,
Yeah.
or any of your contacts. I think we have to ask them what the strategic plan is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There definitely is something else, right? So instead of just having a gossip session, let's just talk to him about it. So we'll report back. Um, Another brand with some exciting news, Pedigo, sold to ownership group behind Utopia e-bikes. I know, Mike, you have a history with working with Pedigo. The article went in a little bit to note that Pedigo did drop from 220 dealers to approximately 120, but has plans to reinvigorate and reach 500 US dealer stores by 2029. The analysis from Human Powered Solutions is that maybe these e-bikes are what dealers need to survive and thrive. And you're going to watch with interest about what Pedigo is going to go through. What specifically is interesting when it comes to Pedigo, and what makes it attractive in your opinion? Just your thoughts on that. Maybe Mike, I mean, were you shocked to see this, given your history?
Yes and no. No, in the sense that obviously Pedigo has had some turbulent times in recent past, and they're looking for some stability. Larry Peasy's on board now as CEO, and I think he brings a lot of experience and expertise to the table. I met Ertopia for the first time at the Consumer Electronics Show in 2024, and I was very impressed. They had a booth at the show. I met some of their key personnel. They're very bright. They know what they're doing. I think they've got a clear focus, and I think they see this merger, if you will, as being having a lot of strategic implications in terms of bringing some of their extremely innovative product into an established distribution channel. So I think it's a win-win scenario for both companies. Pedigo is going to get some additional resources that they heretofore have not had. They'll have a very strong strategic partner based in Asia, which, as we all know, is the primary source of product. There's a lot of innovation going on at Ertopia. I mean, if Pedigo could be criticized for anything, it's been that their product is relatively old hand, hub drives and steel frame or aluminum frames and whatnot. And this might be an opportunity for them to bring some new luster to the brand. So, on balance, I think it's a really good move. I'm anxious to see what happens moving forward. I haven't yet had an opportunity to tap my sources, the guys that I used to work with at Pedigo, to get their perspective on things. There has been, from what I understand, there has been some trimming of the Pedigo workforce. So perhaps the initial step is some austerity to trim the budget. But nevertheless, I think it's a good move. I think it's a strategic move. And I think from a product perspective, it's gonna serve both companies well.
Nice. I'm glad to hear your input. Yeah. I mean, Jay, anything to add? I've talked to Larry. He's the perfect person for the position. He's done some great stuff. So Jay, just anything you would think too?
Well, three of us on the call, Mike, Steve, and myself, worked for a company in the bicycle business that was a dealership company. And in fact, Schwinn was a transition from a franchising company to an authorized dealership company. And the point is, and I worked for an authorized Schwinn or franchise Schwinn dealer, so I saw it from the inside. And what Pedigo represents to me and why I said they are fascinating to us is they are a true dealership company. I don't care what the legal agreement is. Mike's very familiar with Pedigo dealers because he used to give, I think, Mike, you gave several presentations to the Pedigo dealer organization. And so its premise initially was old retired guys and couples taking on e-bikes as a product and selling to other old retired guys. The new owner is a brand that was brought in by Pedigo several years ago. This is not new. This relationship, when Mike met them at the electronics show, was in process, and what it did was bring a younger style of product and bring younger customers into the Pedigo stores. The reason I'm looking at it as an opportunity for the future going forward in these times is dealership organizations, when run properly, can be extremely profitable for the retailer. And this organization now is saying we're going to grow the dealership organization throughout the country. They're going to go up to, they say, 500 dealers. Well, that means they're going to be developing a program, or they've got a program to go out and set up bike shops. That's good for the bike industry. It's good for the channel of trade. And I'm also sure when you chat with Larry, there's going to be no prohibition on their membership becoming NBDA members going forward.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm excited to see what happens for them. So this is good. Let's stick with e-bikes then for a minute. Lots of concern, lots of conversation about out of class e-bikes, e-motos out of class. There's an article, Parents, Here's What to Know If Your Kid Wants a Sur-Ron or High Power E-Bike. And the article really clarifies that these machines are light electric motorcycles, not e-bikes. Motors over 750 watts, speeds exceeding 20 miles per hour. That is not a bicycle. That is a light electric motorcycle. And you review that the NBDA, we are working on our policy notice that these vehicles need to be properly defined and regulated. Just some thoughts from the team on how retailers should respond to customer requests to purchase these products, to have these products serviced. So we're talking about any products with motors over 750 watts and speeds exceeding 20 miles per hour. Just thoughts on how retailers should move forward when it comes to this. And as a note here, a side note, the NBDA will get a policy notice out soon, but we are working closely with Human Powered Solutions. So I don't know, maybe Mike, you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, Heather, again, and you basically stated it. They're not e-bikes. by any stretch of the imagination. There's one machine out there. I saw a recent YouTube video. They're claiming 20 kilowatts, 20,000 watt power sources. You're exactly right. It's a light electric motorcycle, but it's not categorized as a light electric motorcycle. If it's sold as an e-bike, a less than fully knowledgeable parent could probably rationalize the purchase of one of these things for their child. There's no usage regulations. They're spotty, throughout the municipalities as opposed to umbrella regulations regarding either the configuration or the performance attributes of the machine, or usage requirements, vis-a-vis helmets or lighting or whatever else might be. They are light electric motorcycles, and they are incredibly fast, incredibly powerful. And putting one of those in the hands of a child is a formula for disaster. I think the biggest threat that they hold right now to retail dealers is liability. You know, I envision a scenario sitting on a witness stand whereby a plaintiff's attorney is saying, how could you rationalize the sale of this product to a 12-year-old? Because there aren't any legal restrictions against doing that. So I think it's irresponsible at this point. I agree with you. They need to be categorized appropriately for their performance attributes, and they need to be regulated not only in terms of product specifications, but rider requirements. Because and I guess the other thing that really bothers me about this is there's a whole community of social media influencers that utilize these things, and they do these YouTube videos, and they show riders doing some incredibly dangerous things. Now, these people are skilled. They've been doing it for a while without killing themselves. And they're holding themselves out as being experts in the category. Well, YouTube is a conduit for a lot of influence, I think, to our younger community, and trying to emulate some of the things that these guys do with full safety equipment, with experience and whatnot. It's illegal in many cases, but I just think the social media influencers are going to be incentivizing or encouraging dangerous use on the part of unqualified riders, leading to injuries and deaths and liability. I just there needs to be something brought to the table here to get this under control.
Yeah, I agree about the liability. I actually reached out to an insurance partner of the NBDA yesterday just to ask, are retailers specifically insured for selling or servicing anything that goes beyond 20 miles per hour? Because we do have this, deemed class 3 that's been created, but it's not federally recognized, right? So the insurance broker did reply back that not all insurance companies will cover the retailer when they sell or service anything over 20 miles per hour, and that retailers should specifically reach out to their insurance company to ask that. That's a big surprising shocker, right? Because a lot of retailers are selling bikes right now that go up to this, deemed class 3, if you will, but there's not really a class 3 by the definition of a bicycle. So this is a sticky situation that we'll be continuing to move forward to make sure that we can best advise retailers.
Yeah.
Any,
I think that's the key, is it's going to be a sticky situation, because what you're pointing out is the reality of what I think needs to be done. So does HPS. And that is and you're correct. The gray area here is that the federal government Congress passed a law at the urging of the trade association, our trade association, People for Bikes, that recognized the 12 mile an hour for use, not touching the federal regulation and the definition going back to 2002 of an electric bicycle as you describe it. There's two key characteristics: 750 watts and doesn't exceed 20 miles an hour.
mhm,
And that covers two of the use classifications. I think that's going to be a battleground,
yeah,
because the industry has purposely created the confusion about, well, the 12 mile an hour product, or I'm sorry, the the product that can go over 20 miles an hour, 28-mile-an-hour product is okay, and it's not. And so that, I think, has to be clearly laid out. And I think, Heather, the NBDA is taking a leadership position, but you've already heard it from the insurance people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good commercial business reason to make sure that you're not selling product that exceeds 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, yeah. I think kind of like if we roll back to what happened with e-bike battery safety, the UL. I mean, this is kind of like now we're dealing with e-motos and this regulation. So
Yeah.
we'll carefully walk this forward. So we're looking out for the interests of everyone,
And
protecting.
you bring up an interesting point, Heather, about the insurance liabilities. And again, encouraging everybody to sign up for the HPS Bicycle Business Reporter. That is a specific point that I made in the last issue of that, in talking about, do you know what you're selling?
Yeah.
And that the liability issue there is a very, very strong reason for you to either not sell them or make sure you're having that conversation with your insurance broker.
Yeah, yeah, it was enlightening yesterday, and there's a lot of confusion on the insurance side too. But the reality is, we do have a lot of retailers selling product that they're not actually um, insured to sell our service right now, and that's concerning to me. So um, we're not going to figure that one out right now.
Right.
More to come. So let's keep moving forward, but let's focus on our consumers. Cars are essential, but they're also increasingly unaffordable. I mean, economic times, it's expensive to own a car. So this article was on NPR and documents that car ownership costs are up 40% since 2020. And a lot of people, Americans, are carrying car loans that have 1,000 plus monthly payments. That's a lot of money. So potentially this is an argument for the bicycle business. It's an opportunity that we could be promoting bikes as everyday transportation. Just thoughts from the team on that? I mean, I think we've always kind of promoted, we use bikes as transportation, but things retailers might be wanting to consider right now.
Well, the industry really has not emphasized, as you're well aware, and all of us are aware on this panel, the industry has not really, in the last decade, emphasized bicycles as transportation, even e-bikes. The idea has been, oh, they're sporty. They can go off-road. You can get a mountain bike, an e-mountain bike. I agree. Or you can get a really, fast road bike or a gravel bike that's got electric assist. Transportation is mundane. It can be dull. But I think this question in the automobile and the question you're asking about the cost of an automobile is one of the keys here. And Europeans and Asians in the Asian markets and the European markets have really focused a good portion of resources on promoting bicycles as transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we see it when we let the consuming public make their decision. And part of the idea is present them with cargo bikes and they jump on them and begin to utilize them and figure out ways to buy them because they're expensive to get kids to school in markets where you can do that. Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, where you could use them for commercial transport of product. And so I think the article points out something that we've allowed in our society, and that is the cost of a new automobile has jumped up to around 50 grand. That's a far cry from when I graduated high school, and the idea was, but part of the rite of passage for a young man, sorry, not young women, but young men back, and that was in 61. So I realized none of you were born then.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. The rite of passage was you either got a car, you could afford it because you were working a part-time job, or your parents bought you a car, probably used, or from your standpoint, you were able to figure out how you could get a driver's license. That was one of the big deals, and then drive the parents' car. There's some youth that don't want to do that. There's young people that are saying, I just don't want a car. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want to be involved in it's their choice. It's a generational thing,
Yeah.
but they want alternates. They want other means of transportation. Now, part of it is economic. 50 grand for a new car, 25 grand on the average now for a used car.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And then the maintenance cost. The big deal for me is insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had, knock on wood, haven't had a ticket or an accident all my years of driving, and my insurance keeps going up. Why? Because the insurance companies can. So, bottom line, I think the bike dealers, back to your point on planning, I think bike shops should begin to look very carefully at in their market, can they gain traction, i.e., sales and profitability, by really focusing a portion of their time and effort in selling the consuming public on transportation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just to jump in quickly, I think the success, the localized success of bike share programs is indicative of the fact
Yeah.
that certain people do appreciate the transportation utility of a bicycle. I mean, I spent quite a bit of time in New York City and particularly Brooklyn, and I think I'm trying to remember the name of the brand in Chicago. It's Divvy. But you see people using those bikes constantly. Stand on any corner in New York or, as I say, Brooklyn, and the share bikes are going back and forth with businessmen holding their laptop or whatever in a backpack. I mean, I think when the option is there, people will take advantage of it. Now, as we point out, we think this is a good opportunity for retailers in areas that perhaps aren't well served by a share bike program to sell the benefits and advantages of bicycle commuting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. We haven't even tapped into cargo, and I think there's opportunity there too. So let's keep moving here. I want to get to tariffs a little bit. The results will be crushing. U.S. industry reacts to proposed metal tariffs. This was in Bike Europe. Um, Outlines the proposed 50% tariffs on aluminum and steel content, stacking on top of those existing tariffs. Um, People for Bikes, Ash Level says the results will be crushing. You alert clients to the probability that the U.S. Commerce Department will find that these are applicable. So, just for retailers, what should we be doing now? Should we be stocking deep, being conservative, just kind of waiting to see? I don't know. Thoughts on that? I don't know who wants to jump in.
Well, the headline, now that's a Bike Europe article, but the headline from that article is a quote from the executive director of People for Bikes that was made in Europe on a visit to Europe several weeks ago, or so I guess it was several months ago at this point. And so that to me is indicative. That's, the American view being reported in the European press, our trade press. But it's the reality of a situation that is becoming clearer as we look at tariffs, and that is it's right now governmental policy to make it difficult to import, to make it expensive and difficult in numerous ways.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Commerce Department is the one behind these 232 aluminum and steel content, and also copper, by the way, content tariffs. And the hearings offer no real idea, like the Supreme Court hearing did, as to which way the body might be leaning in its decision making. But I think the precedent is simply it's more highly probable that the Commerce Department will find that bicycles, because they've been petitioned in, are going to be subject to the 232 aluminum and steel content tariffs sometime in the new year than not.
Yeah.
Now, I would rather be wrong, but I'm talking about an analysis that we've done that says it's a higher probability.
Mm.
And so the crushing is true. I mean, this is 50% ad valorem tariffs on the aluminum content or the steel content or the steel content, although they haven't decided all this yet. It's the uncertainty and it's the higher cost. Back to a retailer. I think a retailer has to plan as if, okay, it could happen. And if it is going to happen, where am I going to shift my revenue sources, to your point? If a dealer was making 50% of the income off of new bikes, that's going to become problematical. Now, it's not just the tariffs, by the way, because the inventory is out of control and the industry has not been able to control the situation in the marketplace. Dealers aren't going to be able to order uniformly because there's going to be out of stocks.
Mm-hmm.
There are now. There will be going forward. So I think a retailer has to look at what is available to me. Well, part of it is what are the reliable brands I can work with, talking to their people and making sure I understand what they can supply and what we just discussed, previously owned.
Yeah.
And large portions of it built into the business plan, encouraging more service, selling service. Something you emphasize in your P2 group, simply make service profitable. Don't give it away. Make it a profitable portion of the business charge, which you have to charge. So I think from a retailer standpoint, Heather, I don't think they can overstock. I don't think they can buy the product they need because I don't think it's in the inventories. But in the off chance it is, be very careful. Don't just buy because you can get it. Buy because your plan says you can sell it. Back to your point, make sure that you're planning for profitability against the probability that you may not be able to get product or product will be overpriced in the market. Remembering that this is not going to come today. It's not going to come magically on the 2nd of January. It's going to slowly seep into the market over the first 6 months of next year. As I said, I would rather be wrong, but I also think you need to plan as if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And that is, I think that the Commerce Department's going to find in favor of the 232s. It'll take them a while to figure out how to gouge and push and make it happen. But the in between is dealers are not going to be able to get product. And what they do get is going to be higher priced product that consumers are going to move away from because the tariff cost is being rolled into the cost of the product.
Ooh, lots to think about here as we move this forward. So
Yes, absolutely.
let's move over to Steve's article now. Steve, retailers playing an important role in e-bike safety. And I want to start there. I loved your article, Steve. I
Thank
absolutely
you.
love your opinion articles. I want to start at the top though. You cite the head trauma from e-bike accidents increased 49-fold between 2017 and 2022. 49. And then in California, e-bike accidents rose 1,800% from 18 to 23. Is this because we have more e-bikes on the road, or e-bikes are more dangerous because of the speeds now? What is driving these numbers in your research?
Well, I don't have anything empirical, but I think the concept that there are many more e-bikes on the road than there were to begin with certainly plays into it. I think the fact that you have these bikes that are being ridden by people, and we've talked about this in terms of category one or class one, class two, and the Amphoris class three bikes, when people are riding them as opposed to a regular normal bicycle, which the speed varies. The speed varies by whether you're going up a hill, down a hill, how much effort you're putting into pedaling. On these electric bikes, you can either use it with pedal assist or a throttle. And primarily, people run these things at full speed. They don't vary that speed very often. And so you've got these people that are running along at 20 miles an hour, a constant 20 miles per hour, and may not be paying attention or operating that product in accordance with local traffic laws. I sit in my study in Tennessee, and I watch people riding these e-bikes, running through stop signs. Don't even slow down. They don't make any indication that they're going to turn, and so now they're turning into and across traffic. They may or may not be wearing helmets, but all of that is playing into it big time.
Yeah. Are there, like you said in the article, it says in 2024, the death rate for e-bike and e-moto accidents was 37 times higher than crashes involving regular bicycles, so acoustic bicycles, 37 times higher. Is this because we've got speed, weight, rider inexperience, lack of protective gear? Kind of the same question, but it's specifically now on e-bikes and e-motos being 37 times higher.
Well, and again, a lot of the answers are just what I've talked about, and what you mentioned, and I'll invite Mike to get in on this conversation too. But as I pointed out into my article, um, an e-bike, and I'm sitting here in my daughter's home. My daughter and son-in-law both own e-bikes. They ride them responsibly, but this product weighs 75 pounds apiece. This product can go at a consistent 20 miles an hour. So when there's an accident or when there's something that happens, and Mike, again, you can address this, there's a serious amount of kinetic energy that has to be either absorbed or dissipated. And you don't have that with an acoustic bike. Mike, would you agree or not?
Oh, definitely, Steve. I mean, formula for kinetic energy is 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So you double the velocity, you increase the kinetic energy by a factor of 4. So yeah, the faster you go. And I made that comment in a email exchange that Jay and I had when we were discussing the inherent hazards between a class 2 bike that can go less than 20 miles an hour, or a class 3 bike that can go more than 28 or 28 miles an hour. And the difference in terms of kinetic energy is substantial. And kinetic energy is what hurts you. It's what needs to be dissipated when you come to a sudden stop. And if the body is the element of the bicycle rider system that has to absorb that energy, injuries are going to result. And it's pure physics.
Yeah, I can't do the math like Mike can, but I agree with everything he said.
Steve, I'll just let's summarize this because retailers are playing a part in this role, an important part. You referenced Clint Sandusky's editorial, like about starting the conversation of safety early, and there's great things in the articles, like retailers discussing battery safety, local state regulations regarding e-bike use. Can you just talk us through what a conversation might look like, or maybe summarize your best practices for retailers when it comes to their role in e-bike safety?
Well, I think the conversation starts with the retailer talking to the person that's purchasing the bike, which in many cases will be a parent. Who's going to ride the bike? Where are they going to ride it? Are you comfortable with being able to ride an e-bike at at a constant 20 miles per hour or 28 miles per hour? Are you confident that your child understands the rules and obeys the rules of the road? Are you confident that, and are you as a parent going to instill in them the ideas that they need to be courteous, that they shouldn't be riding on bike paths recklessly, a whole gamut of those types of questions, and frankly, putting the parents on the spot because many of them may not really understand what an e-bike is capable of doing and how their child will control it. Um, to me, that's the primary issue, and then giving them the tools where they can go and research these things as well. Within that guest editorial in Brain, there were 3 or 4 websites that you could point a parent to and say, not only do you need to read this, but you need to make sure that your child reads it. And then the follow up on that is, and we've talked about this service, bringing the product back into the store to find out that in fact the parent's doing that and that the product is being well maintained so that the brakes work, the motor's fine, and demonstrate that the kid can ride the product safely.
Yeah.
This
There's
is
a lot.
this
Sorry,
is
friend.
just quickly. This, I find this whole motorcycle versus bicycle thing fascinating because the first motorcycles were bicycles and they put on a little 2 horsepower internal combustion engine and that
Wizards.
became the first motorcycle,
Right.
and but then the two have diverged and now we're coming back. But I think that these e-motos, if we, and it seems like we've agreed, they're motorcycles, well, the riders need to be licensed. And
Oh yeah.
Steve's absolutely correct that parents need to play a role now, but they shouldn't have to. The kids should be required to have age limits, mandatory helmet laws in those states that have them, and they need to pass a driver's test in order to ride these things. And it's not a bicycle, not an e-bike, but these motorcycle derivatives are motorcycles, and somehow we're just not enforcing the law requiring driver's licenses.
Well, and your point is well made, and I agree with it, Fred. I think the legal problem that everybody's facing is because there isn't any specific designation on these e-motos. Even law enforcement goes, we're not sure what to do.
Yeah.
So lots in the article. We'll barely have time. We've barely skimmed it. So anyone who's listening, please head over to the Human Powered Solutions website, especially if you're a retailer listening, if you're a sales rep who works with retailers. These are really important conversations to have with your retailer partners. It's important for our retailers to read the article that Steve wrote. And I know, Steve, your contact information is on the website too. So if retailers are reading that and they want to ask questions, get more involved, Steve is an excellent resource. It's been wonderful to have Steve join us at trade shows in the past. So definitely do head over to Human Powered Solutions and read that full article. This is it, gentlemen. We've hit the end of 2025. We're looking forward to 2026. We're thinking about resolutions, being the best version of ourselves, I hope, being the best business owner, being the best employee, being the best for our bicycle industry to move us all forward, bringing more people to our sport. Any closing words from anyone before we wrap up our podcast? Things we're thinking about for 2026? Words for the good?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays from Mike. Yeah. Fred, anything on your mind?
Well, yeah, I think we discussed it earlier, is there is a tendency in sales, and it's been defined as sales is nothing more than a transfer of enthusiasm, and to be enthusiastic about the marketplace. And, the bike companies, and some of the trade associations, I'm so glad the NBDA is not among them. You kind of are tempted or forced sometimes, you feel, to create a false optimism because you don't want to be seen as a downer. When I was working in NBDA, we went through a recession, and I was accused, you're just so negative. Well, okay, maybe I was, but we have to separate the transfer of enthusiasm, the salesmanship, from the reality. And if you're projecting for 2026 and expecting growth, I just ask you to give me the metrics that you're using to make that optimism a reality. And so be optimistic, love the business, love riding, love what you do, but my gosh, don't fall for it.
I love it, Fred. Fred's always the one to bring us back.
Yep, absolutely.
Strong words. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your continued support of the NBDA, of the industry, of retailers at large. I absolutely love our monthly podcast recording. Listeners, please head over to Human Powered Solutions, sign up for their monthly reporter, read Steve's article. I wish everyone a great new year and look forward to 2026 and thriving together. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.